you come here expecting today? Jesus' jubilant entry or La Via Dolorosa? At this point in our Lenten journey, it's starting to feel like each step brings us to a new crossroads. Which way will we turn? Where will we invest our energy, our heart, our soul, our mind, our strength? How will we traverse this road fraught with so many challenges, as well as so many possibilities? How will we navigate our crises of the heart? Certainly today, standing with the crowds entering Jerusalem, we face some very real challenges and possibilities. There are many political factions vying for our loyalties and attention. You feel this today, don't you? Widespread economic changes have disenfranchised many and completely broken others. We realize again and again that our social structures are set up to benefit some at the expense of others. Our religious leaders do not use their moral authority for the common good of all God's children. Everywhere we look, it appears that money and power have secretly tied the knot in some back room. And at times, we may feel like we are one step away from sliding through the cracks ourselves. So what are we going to do here at these crossroads? Will we take the path of least resistance? Just stand clear of the mess and controversy. Opt for the status quo. That will certainly keep us out of trouble, but it will also require relinquishing some of our soul. It will require that we join our energies, heart, soul, mind, and strength, whether consciously or not, with the powers that be, the exclusive authorities that do everything they can, using whatever coercive means necessary to shore up control and power and obedience, that demand absolute allegiance and compliance, that work relentlessly to preserve the existing distribution of wealth and privilege in the same ways for the same people according to the same rules for as long as possible. Yeah, that Jubilee talk that Jesus spouts, that would be a lot of hard work. So, are we ready? Are we willing to stand up and demand something else? Even if it puts us in the path of the violent twister of wrath and repercussions. Will we join our hearts and minds and hands and feet with those striving for a different reality? A reality that values us and our neighbors and all peoples of the world more completely, more complexly, more equitably, more inclusively. A reality that aims to share the resources and goodness and grace of the world as broadly as possible. A reality that struggles to break open the vaults of hope for all people, no matter who, no matter where, no matter why, no matter how. Today we stand at these crossroads. Just as Jesus and his disciples did as they prepared to enter Jerusalem. And we must determine which vision for the world we will embrace, we will celebrate and endorse. Which revelation merits our hosannas today? Which way will we turn? Do you remember the first Sunday of Lent? I shared with you David White's understanding of courage, which might tempt us to think of doing something explicitly outward and visible that makes us seen. But the origins of the word courage lead us in a more interior direction. Courage is the measure of our heartfelt participation in life with another, with a community. Courage is what love looks like when tested by the simple, everyday necessities of being alive. And the testing ground for courage, as for love, is often crisis. Those trying and troubled times when our true strength of character is revealed. Now, Jesus himself comes to us to awaken in us the possibilities of courage, the heartfelt, heartening participation in the lives of others. Jesus comes to address our crises of the heart by calling us toward the restorative, hopeful possibilities of Jubilee. And as we stand here at these crossroads, we are surrounded by witnesses. The people right here around us, of course, but also the earth, the wind, the waters, the sun, even the stones beneath our feet bear witness to who we are, where we've been, and how we've gotten to this particular moment in our lives. How have you gotten here today? So look down, look up, look around you, and notice the divine witnesses that insist upon and call forth the most genuine, authentic parts of your spirit. It may make you want to run. You may want to just ignore them. But even if you are silent, and even when you are silent, those stones, those witnesses have felt your footsteps every day for years, and they will shout out. They will bear witness to the bare truths of your life. They will declare loudly what we might struggle to articulate or name for ourselves. Without guile, they accurately mark our movements, our commitments, our deepest investments. Now the Pharisees, they're frustrated with the enthusiasm of Jesus' disciples, demanding and celebrating this other social and economic reality that bear the marks of Jubilee. Order Jesus, they order him, quiet them. But Jesus, knowing the depth of their vision and their commitment, replies, I could tell them to be quiet, but it wouldn't do any good. Because the need is so great, and the passion is so strong. And so even if they are silent, the very stones surrounding us would shout out their truth, would shout out their commitment, would shout out their courage. And I wonder, what are the stones surrounding you ready to shout? What truths of your life simply will not be denied? When Jesus journeyed into the wilderness, he was tempted to trade his commitment to the people for wealth and power and fame. In his hunger and vulnerability, he was tempted to turn the stones that knew him so well, into bread, to satisfy himself and his own personal desires. But instead, he insists that we do not live by bread alone and that God is not a vending machine. Our faith, after all, is not about us as individuals. Our faith is about an ever-widening, welcoming, loving community that works avidly, unsuppressively toward a common good. It's only in our weakness and in our fear that we are tempted to clamp down into survival mode and worry only about ourselves and build walls that shut others out and look solely out for our own narrow self-interest. Is this fear the authentic truth of our lives? Is this what we are ready to live and die for, to yield our power to? Is this fear what our stones would shout out and call us toward? The stones under our feet journey with us deeper and deeper into the world, deeper and deeper into life, deeper and deeper into that hope that tames uncertainty and calls us further forward into Jubilee, into that alternate vision of God's kingdom on earth. The stones under our feet know and remember the dusty lands where we dwelt, far from home, where our struggles overwhelm us, where hunger is real, where we desperately need to be nurtured and fed, where our spirits are empty and our personal wells have run dry. And the stones under our feet also know and remember the gracious invitation to come home, to find a truly welcoming community, to experience grace and love with no strings attached. So when we are given an open invitation to come in out of the wilderness, to do something different, to open up our lives, to go deeper into life, to participate in the kind of heartfelt hospitality that has the potential to transform the world, which way do we turn? What decision do we make standing at this crossroads? What do we hear the stones shouting? Jesus rides into Jerusalem to joyous accolades. But that joy will become the sorrow of weeping over Jerusalem and the anger of cleansing the temple. The Pharisees feel threatened and threaten Jesus. Stop this ruckus! Really, their stones are shouting that they want to kill him. Kill all this. But Jesus has a few things to say about that. If you had only recognized on this day the things that make for peace, gosh, that's all you had to do. But now they're hidden from your eyes, and indeed the days will come when you and your when will come upon you when your enemies will set up ramparts around you and surround you and hem you in on every side and crush you to the ground. And they will not leave one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation from God. The stones are shouting. They are shouting. Do you hear them? Emmanuel. God with us. God is with us. Here. Now, Emmanuel. God is here. God is here now. Emmanuel. They are shouting. There is hope. There is hope even for me. Even in the broken places. Even during this crisis of the heart when I didn't think there was any hope at all. Do you see, even for me, even for you, no one is beyond the reach of God's love and grace. Stop drawing lines in the sand. It's for all of us. You draw that circle wide. The true power works for true justice. Don't you know? I'm ready. I'm willing. Emmanuel. But despite the advice and the pleas of his closest friends and disciples that want him to play it safe, avoid Jerusalem. Nothing good's going to come. Is going to come there right now. It's too dangerous. Even with all the warnings, Jesus Jesus enters Jerusalem for the Passover festival. Many fear that he will be arrested and thrown in jail. No one knows for sure what the future holds. But one thing is for sure, no one is silent. No one is silent. There's too much excitement in the air, too much hope and trepidation, too much anticipation and anxiety. Everyone's a little bit on edge. Hosanna! Hosanna! Emmanuel, blessed is the King! Peace in heaven, God's kingdom is here. Jubilee! Jubilee, Emmanuel! Now, there was only one crime that merited Roman crucifixion. There was only one reason that someone would be declared an enemy of the state and be hung on a Roman cross. There was only one reason. And that was the denial of imperial authority. That was the only reason someone would be crucified. So what is Jesus doing? Surely he has to know what's coming. Surely he needed to quiet his disciples. Come on. Surely this can wait. Surely all these hosannas, they're really nice, but they can wait. Surely all this talk about Jubilee, surely it's just exaggeration, hyperbole. Surely. But it wouldn't have mattered, you see. Even if he had quieted everything down, the stones knew the truth. The stones were ready to shout. Everything was now set in motion.